Okay, let's just jump right in. We're talking about an insect we see all the time, right? The humble bee, buzzing around our gardens. But it turns out, behind that familiar buzz is a cognitive ability so surprising, it's forcing us to rewrite the rules on what intelligence even is in the animal kingdom.
So, picture it. A tiny honeybee lands on a flower nearby. You see a fuzzy little insect, but have you ever really stopped to think, what does it see when it looks back at you? Well, the answer is way more incredible than you'd ever guess.
You heard that right. That little bee might actually know who you are. And no, this isn't something out of a sci-fi movie. This is real, proven science. These tiny creatures have a skill we used to think was only for big-brained animals like us. So let's get into this, what I like to call a bee's hidden superpower. For the longest time, science figured that recognizing faces was, a hallmark of advanced intelligence, something you'd find in primates, maybe dolphins. But in an insect, no way.
I mean, the logic seemed pretty solid, didn't it? A complex task, like telling one face from another, must need a big, powerful brain to handle all that data. Insects, with their tiny little brains, they weren't even in the running. Well, this discovery just flips that entire idea on its head.
So this obviously raises the big question, how in the world did scientists prove this? I mean, how do you even ask a bee if it remembers a face? It turns out the experiment they designed is just brilliant in its simplicity.
Here's what they did. Researchers showed the bees a bunch of different pictures of human faces, but only one of those faces came with a sweet, sugary reward. So the bees learned to associate that specific face with the treat. Then came the real test. They took the reward away, and guess what? The bees kept flying straight to the correct face, proving they actually remembered it.
But here's the part that's truly mind-blowing. It wasn't just simple pattern matching. The bees could still pick out the right face even when the photos were shown from different angles. This proves they were actually processing the layout of the features, the arrangement of the eyes, nose, and mouth, in a very similar way to how we humans do it. So this leads to the next massive question. How on earth are they doing this? How can a brain that small pull off such a complex cognitive trick? The answer, it turns out, isn't about size at all. It's about being incredibly efficient.
Let's just pause for a second to really let this sink in. A bee's brain is the size of a single sesame seed, a sesame seed. Inside, it's got about 1 million neurons, and you might think, wow, 1 million is a lot, until you compare it to us. The average human brain is packing around 86 billion neurons. That's 86,000 times more than a bee. And yet for this very specific, very complex task, the bee gets the job done. It's just perfect proof that raw power isn't the whole story.
And this brings us to this amazing concept called neural efficiency. Here's a good way to think about it. Our brain is like a massive general-purpose supercomputer. It can do almost anything. A bee's brain, on the other hand, is like a highly specialized computer chip, one designed to do one thing, like visual processing, incredibly well, using almost no energy. It's the definition of working smarter, not harder.
Okay, so we know they can do it, and we have an idea of how. But why? Bees didn't spend millions of years evolving just so they could recognize us. So what's the real-world purpose for having this kind of visual superpower?
Well, it all comes down to survival. This ability is a key part of the bee's toolkit. It helps them identify the best, most nutrient-rich flowers from a distance. It helps them navigate incredibly complex landscapes to get back to the hive. It might even help them tell friend from foe at the hive entrance. It's an all-purpose tool for a complicated world.
So, you see, our faces are just a handy, complex object that scientists could use to test this ability. The skill was never about us. It was always about finding the best food, avoiding danger, and making it home safely.
So let's zoom out for our last section here, because this discovery has some really big implications. What this tiny bee teaches us is that we might need to step back and redefine what we even mean when we use the word intelligence.
If you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. The bee is living proof that you do not need a massive brain to have sophisticated abilities. The old idea that brain size equals intelligence, well, it's just not that simple.
Instead, what might be more important is efficiency, how well your brain circuits are wired for the jobs you need to do. And in that respect, the bee is an absolute genius. It just shows that evolution can cook up the most remarkable solutions in the most compact and unexpected packages. Which leaves us with a final, really fascinating question to think about.
If a brain the size of a sesame seed can recognize a human face, what other incredible cognitive secrets are hiding all around us in the minds of the world's tiniest creatures?